Hello, we're back. Maddie in the foreground. This has become a video about Maddie, an installment of Kitchen Conversations with Maddie. She's focused on something out there. She's impossible to move. But maybe if she smells the cookies that I baked. Oh yes. Look at that ear. Maddie, look, I know. Cookies. I'm just gonna leave her there, I guess. Um, Here are the cookies. Um, they're really good. The pepper really gave it a kick that I really liked. In fact, I think I could even put a little bit more in it. I'm gonna move Maddie here. This is really rough. I know, but she's so charming. Say, hey, Matt. Okay, all right, okay, okay. If you want down, you just tell me. Okay. Her stomach is a little shaved because she got spayed last week. Okay. All right, Miss Maddie May. Maddie May Cecil. All right, I baked these while I was baking these cookies. My Angie Dickinson cookies because they have pepper in them, in their name for her character and policewoman Pepper. I did some reading on Angie. There's a great 2008 Vanity Fair article about her by Sam Keshner. I just finished reading. That was really a great read. I thought I could skim it. I read every word. I started thinking about her films. Her first big film was Rio Bravo, but if you really want to see the Angie Dickinson allure, the appeal, like, she's sort of this, she has this swagger about her. She's like a great gal pal. She's a reliable doll, is what one film critic, I think David Thompson, said of her. I would say The Killers is a film she made, Point Blank, and of course, Dressed to Kill. That's the film that sort of was her claim to fame and later career, the Brian De Palma film. I remember seeing that film at a screening and hating it. I just hated that movie when I saw it, especially in response to the hosannas Brian De Palma was getting from David Denby and especially Pauline Kael, who just, he could do no wrong in her eyes. Plus, I sort of politically didn't like the film because of the villain being gender fluid, I guess you could say now. I don't know. There was a lot of the film I didn't like, but I did love Angie in it. There's a very, very famous 10-minute silent sequence where she cruises. It's supposed to be the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but I think they filmed it at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where she cruises and picks up a guy, has sex with him, and then sort of the rest of the movie is what results from the sex. It's all about guilt and illusion. To me, it's a movie that's about style over narrative, over content. And as I said in the earlier video, I believe in narrative. I like style. Don't get me wrong. I do like style. I got a stylish little cat here. But within the constructs of art, when storytelling is involved, I do like a narrative. But I'm going to go back and watch Dressed to Kill if I can find it on the streaming services and see if I have a different opinion about it. So when I read this story about Angie, these are the things that stuck with me. She's from the Dakotas. Her father was an alcoholic. They published 2 local newspapers in this tiny, tiny town in the depths of the Depression in the Dakotas. They moved to California. She was in beauty pageants. She was married early because some big lug of a football player divorced him, got a job as a secretary. And then her first job in show business was as like one of the background girls. I forgot what they were called, long stemp girls or something like that, on the Jimmy Durante show. She was like background, as a female objectified piece of flesh in the background. And one of her first, sorry, there's an airplane. One of her first shows, Frank Sinatra was a guest, and she met Frank Sinatra, and they began their 10-year affair. She had a 10-year love affair with Frank. He'd come to her house and park his car back in the alleyway, and then like talk to the garbage guys in the morning. And, she said it lasted as long as it did because they just weren't that passionate for each other. They could live without each other. It was sort of easy. It was comfortable. It lasted a long time. And she was in Ocean's 11 with him. She was part of the Rat Pack. She was like a gal pal. Even before Shirley MacLaine was a gal pal, I think. She was the gal pal. The reliable doll. And through Sinatra, she met the Kennedys and had her purported affair with JFK, which she's never really publicly talked about or really denied, but it's sort of an accepted fact that she and JFK had this short-lived affair, maybe even during inaugural week. And she was sort of known as like a guy's gal in Hollywood. She was a big poker player. There was poker nights at Frank's house with the Jack Lemmons, the Barry Pecks, the Sammy Kahns. Frank never played poker. He played every now and then, but poker wasn't his game. He liked to play craps. He didn't have the patience for poker. And then she got involved with Johnny Carson, not romantically. She was just a great guest for him. There was a famous Johnny Carson episode in which she had some outfit on. It's in all the clips, and he asked her if she dressed for men or she dressed for women. And she famously said, without missing a beat, "I dress for women, I undress for men." It's one of the famous lines from The Tonight Show. She was one of his favorite guests. She also had a big affair with David Janssen. Maybe you have to be of a certain age to know who that is. Richard Brooks, the director and writer and producer. In fact, they wanted to be alone at one point, so she's the kind of gal you could take on a steamer. So they took a steamer ship out to sea to be alone. And after 3 days, they couldn't stand each other, according to her. And he went to his cabin, locked himself in the cabin, and to write a script for a movie he was about to do called Elmer Gantry. And he ended up winning the Oscar for it, and didn't even thank her when he won the Oscar, because she credits his impatience and distaste for the intimacy of that steamer ship with his writing that script. She ended up marrying Burt Bacharach in 1965 in Las Vegas. He was a pianist for Marlene Dietrich around that time, before he became known as the composer of all the hits songs, and before he won his Oscar for Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where he sort of rose over her in their career. But they were this golden, gorgeous, sexy LA couple. They were just the epitome, Angie Dickinson and Burt Bacharach. And then her career took off when she became Pepper on Police Story, and sort of left him in the wake a bit. And also they had a child, which is where the story turns sad in a way, and also very moving. She had her daughter at 6 months, 3 months premature. She barely weighed 29 pounds. Angie almost died. Nikki, the kid, almost died. And she had undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome in her childhood. They just thought she was uncontrollable. They didn't know what was wrong with her. Bert had her hospitalized for almost 10 years. They had her hospitalized. But Angie was a devoted mother trying to cope with this without knowing exactly what it was. But once it was diagnosed, they knew how to handle it a bit more. Unfortunately, Nikki committed suicide when she was 40. She was also had trouble with her eyesight. She was going blind because of health problems she had, being born so prematurely. And it just, I think she's lived with grief the rest of her life, Angie. Sorry, this has gone dark again. Right on cue, it went dark again. Right on cue. That was Nikki flowing through, perhaps. And there's a story in the Sam Keshner article toward the end of it where she goes to a party at the Gregory Peck's, and Tony Kushner's or some benefit. The Pecks were involved with it, and Tony Kushner did a reading, and it was a reading about loss and grief. And she said she was so moved by it, she asked for a copy of it. And Tony Kushner's words helped her get over her grief of her daughter's suicide, which is something I never expected to read about Angie Dickinson. Anyway, I am going to go and try to find Dress to Kill. I may watch Rio Bravo. I don't think I've ever seen Rio Bravo, where she tells John Wayne for him to sleep with her, he has to say that he wants her. He can't just seduce her. He has to say it. You have to say you want me. The way she got that part in Rio Bravo, and I'll end here, was she was on an episode of Carrie Mason, and Slim Keith, the great Slim Keith, had seen the episode and told her husband, Howard Hawks, that he should check out this young girl because he was looking for the part of Feathers, and the script was called The Girl. I think they called her Feathers later on. And he watched that episode and ended up casting Angie and Rio Bravo for her first big role. And Slim Keith, when she found out that her husband had cast Angie in the film, told him, I'm really surprised. I didn't think you were going to cast her. This surprises me. And Howard Hawks said, that's the response I wanted. I wanted you to be surprised. That's what Angie Dickinson sort of leaves one with. You're surprised by her honor. She's sort of an honorable woman who lived by her own rules that some people would think weren't honorable because they weren't how women should live their lives. Frank Sinatra said about her that it's really nice to meet a lady finally who's a gentleman. So, Angie Dickinson, I hope somebody shows you this. These are Angie Dickinson cookies because they got pepper in them. They leave you with a little kick. They're good. So, this is for you, Angie.